Hello and welcome to another race day. Race day 5, and we're Singapore. We're finally out of the 3 continuous streak of consistency, and we have a little bit of a time with a reaction track. I'm going to take a little bit of break while people filter in, and we'll go ahead and get started in probably about 6 to 10 minutes. Hello and welcome back. I appreciate you hanging out for that little hiatus as people filter in for their races. And I make sure everything is muted on my end so you guys don't hear an echo. Alright. Yeah, today we have, for Superkart we have Portugal, and for Formula 1 through 3 we have Singapore. First reaction track of the season after our series of 3. Appreciate your guys' patience, and we'll get into the swing of everything. Let me just make sure everything is good for everyone else. Yeah, as I was just testing different tire wears and making sure we weren't going to need to pit stop 15 times during a race or something. Cool. We'll go ahead and jump into the Superkarts. Superkarts, we've got, I guess, the battle of 3 titans, Mercedes, Maple Stroop, and Hot Wheels, as they are the people who have Superkart drivers. We are in Portugal today. Let me get the sound in game up. As we have, I don't know what it is of Mole KTM, but this bot is crushing it and has been crushing it. I'm pretty sure they're in line for their second pole win, which is kind of crazy to say of a bot. Assuming somebody doesn't catch up to them. But yeah, this Portugal track is something that is really entertaining for me. As I type down some of the, I guess, keep track of the pole wins, so it makes everyone's life easier on the back end. Like we've seen before, reaction is one of those that hasn't been a most commonplace attribute for the past few seasons, as we've mainly had consistency. So even at we get to the top level, there may be some lower values, as Caleb Hayden takes a great inside line, but the shower bot from Alpiner continues to hold him off. Ray Alexander in that 4th spot, trying to make a pass on the inside as he does, but I could fully see Caleb Hayden try and make that inside move, but Ray Alexander holds him off pretty well for the time being, as there's quite a battle back and forth for that 3rd spot. Julian O'Sullivan zooming in, using that turbo very effectively, getting past everyone. And in that 6th place we have Woody Guthrie, and then a big series of bots, and then the 11th series chicken of Maple Stroop. So yeah, Caleb Hayden doing a great job holding things off. Surprisingly, those 2 bots have done a really good job of maintaining their position in 1st and 2nd. As we're just approaching the halfway mark of this race. Fully expect maybe 1 pit stop for the Superkarts. Seems to be kind of what we're going for. 1 or 2 pit stops for Superkarts, so they can just focus purely on racing. ideally that would be the way for all of them, but due to the length of some of the newer courses, you're really just kind of at the mercy of how much damage they take before pit stopping. Julian O'Sullivan doing a great job holding that second position as some of the bots, kind of the bot, McLaren bot who got the pole, took that early pit stop. Yeah. So we see a large majority of the field taking a pit stop in that top part of the map. That'll likely be the only one for them for the day. It'll be really interesting to see if Julian O'Sullivan tries to go. Oh, I say that, he makes his final pit. As that McLaren bot we had initially, or not McLaren, Mole KTM bot initially retake his lead. Out to a 5-second lead. Ray Alexander and Caleb Hayden continuing to do their battle for that 4th position. And Julian O'Sullivan doing a great job staying in that 3rd. Woody Guthrie doing a great job holding off Puff the 2nd and just giving his teammate a lot of space, as Woody Guthrie actually ends up closing the gap. As Caleb Hayden passed Ray Alexander. Ray Alexander has to have some really worn tires that are causing him to go out into the grass and lose a tremendous amount of energy. Hopefully that isn't a preface with what's to come for a lot of those drivers, as that can be brutal, just giving up 2 positions just because you don't take a pit, and it kind of happens to everyone. So yeah, and first we have that Mole KTM bot, Shower bot, followed by Julian O'Sullivan, Caleb Hayden, Woody Guthrie, Ray Alexander, Puff the 2nd, Serious Chicken fighting up from that 11th spot, and then you have bots from 9 on, variant types. I'm going to close out of that so I have less demands and everything should run smoother for me. Woody Guthrie with the fastest laps. Congratulations. And like I mentioned before, those are the leaders. I'm going to take a little bit of time to post the results. go to Formula 3. Weather or anything like that. Okay. And they're off. This is our first look at the Singapore night course. Should be good fun for everyone. As there are 3 drivers that'll likely that are the favorites: Sophia Toth, I believe Jackson Kyle, and Fillmore Carlin are up there as favorites, as well as yours truly, Stumpy Jones. But yeah, it's a qualifying lap. Anyone put the pedal to the metal and just take a really efficient line, especially with how many opportunities there is for that damage in the chicane right here, for everything to work. It's really interesting that the pit's on the inside, making efficient use of the track. And your top 3 are Fillmore Carlin, Sophia Toth, and Stumpy Jones. Polls. That shouldn't be correct. Oh, I didn't change the name for the Mole KTM racer, but I did change the attributes. I did change the attributes for it. I'm gonna go see how the simmers want me to, or how the board of direction wants me to move forward. I'm pretty sure we'll just run the race with the bot, even though the bot will just count towards the standing for newer racer, for the newer racer. I'm just gonna double check and make sure that I have their name correctly. Transactions. Nico Shift. Alright, cool beans. And we're off. as expected, Fillmore Carlin and Stumpy Jones makes a move on the inside as Zofia Toth randomly loses some ground going for those medium tires opposed to the soft tires. Adalbert Steiner making some great moves, taking a really efficient path, getting no bumps. As there's quite a cluster in that from Yukio through Hashtagate, just kind of focus on the middle part of the race or try and keep view of as much as we can, maybe zoom out a little bit. As this track is a bit larger than the other ones and has a bit less. Ambrose Rove makes a great move on the inside of Stumpy Jones and ends up taking a little too inside. That's a really interesting problem area that the majority of the race just goes through. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just really great. Fillmore Carlin with a great lead, followed by Steiner and then Stumpy Jones, Ambrose Rove, and that fourth spot, and Yukio continuing their success after a phenomenal I believe it was third place finish last week. Yeah, I definitely foresee some pits more often than not on this course, just because of its damage that it's incurring. As we see our first set of pits from a majority of the field. Jackson Kyle says, forget that, I'm on my hards, I'm going to keep pushing the distance, as he makes he closes the gap significantly between the other drivers into that second position, although he will end up falling back quite a bit with that pit, I imagine. As we see Steiner with those fresh set of softs retake the second position for John Deere, Rove in that third position. If Kyle doesn't pit here, I would be very surprised, purely just because of the damage amount that he has. Fillmore Carlin with quite a large lead, 2.5 seconds on this course, seems pretty significant just because of the straightaways. There isn't like a definitive spot where there's a best straightaway to use it as, because you'll likely go out of control and do quite a bit of damage on yourself. This is probably the best area for it, just because you have that yellow edge to work on. This battle for 3 through 5 has been really great between Ambrose Rove and Yukio. Zofia Toth. Oh, Ambrose Rove took quite a bounce back. Surprisingly, maintained a lot of speed. It was really nice to see the duo from Ice Cube working together, of Gritty Ray and Demortris, even though they may be doing more damage to each other than worth. Ryan Gosling in that 13th position, kind of waiting his time. Him and Scud Muffin have been top 5, I think, for every race so far this season, so reaction just must not be their forte, or they're just having a rough race just due to all the bonking. Yu-Gi-Oh really pushing those hards, getting a lot out of them, same as Stumpy Jones. And Steiner on his third set of tires is really performing extremely well, and has got to be really great for John Deere to see someone, him and Rove, just do work. as Steiner takes that top position. This battle for first as Fillmore Carlin takes his one position back, which is fully expected. And Rove ends up taking a cut on the inside as well. This battle for fourth between Toth and Yukio as they end up passing Rove. I fully expect them to pit one more time as Toth goes into the pits to get a fresh set of tires. Going the approach of early to pit, which I actually like that on this map, pitting early and often just because of how much speed and time you get from having fresh sets of tires and avoiding those walls and taking really clean lines. Steiner has really pushed those mediums as he ends up getting bodied. Definitely could have pit a lap early. That is one of the disadvantages you have is if you do try and go and push that extra lap, it can bite you in the butt. As Yu-Gi-Oh ends up going in for their fourth pit of the race, I believe. Oh no, it's their third pit of the race. And Fillmore Carlin is also on these fresh set of tires. Stumpy Jones, your leader currently on those hards, but he won't be able to make those last. We'll need to pit. So Fillmore Carlin is likely your current leader and will be your leader for a majority of this race unless this pack of Toth or Rove can catch up to him. As Stumpy Jones gets passed, as we mentioned before, is driving pretty conservative as he goes into the pit. In Yu-Gi-Oh and Ambrose Rove, like I mentioned, they just take that fourth position very effectively. Steiner in that fifth position very comfortably. Stumpy Jones hot on his heels with those mediums. Steiner will not need a new set of tires for the rest of this race. Carlin, like I said, with the 2.5 second lead on this course is massive. Toth and Yu-Gi-Oh butt touching as Yu-Gi-Oh passes him going into that little tidbit. As they try and carry as much speed as they can into the boundary. Fillmore Carlin saying hey to his partner and gives him a nice little knock, a love tap, so to speak. Toth on those hards may actually try and push the distance as he gets passed by Stumpy Jones. And Fillmore Carlin took a pit to get fresh tires and switch to the softs. That was kind of surprising. He was comfortable in the lead, but I guess if those tires were... he saw from the race leaders previously that it's smart to just pit early and on this type of course as Carlin just brutalizes Stumpy Jones and Yu-Gi-Oh and says get out of my way. Wow, he may have done so much damage to them that they may end up opting to pit. Never mind, they end up going for the the gold. Hopefully they don't incur enough damage to DNF. Oh my goodness, Fillmore Carlin just brought the hockey gear out today. We'll keep a close eye on this third and fourth position. And Sophia Toth, oh my goodness, Sophia Toth, I did not realize how they are smoking on the final lap. We'll be sure to come back to Sophia Toth as Carlin is cruising into the checker line. Oh my goodness. Followed by Ambrose Rove. Oh, Ambrose Rove pulls back and takes that third position. Yu-Gi-Oh! Steiner in fifth. Jackson Kyle in sixth. Sophia Toth pushing those hard tires the distance, getting seventh. Holmberg in this eighth position. Jobin in ninth. This has been really entertaining seeing all of them push the distance. All right, 2 fastest laps, Steiner and Carlin. Congratulations to both of you on tying fastest lap. Like I mentioned, top 5 is Fillmore Carlin, Stumpy Jones, Ambrose Rove, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Adelbert Steiner of John Deere Racing, Jackson Kyle in 6th, Sophia Toth of Mole KTM in 7th, barely making it across and not DNFing. Holmberg in 8th, Jobin of Alpiner in 9th, and Sisyphus Cuddles in that 10th spot. Entertaining race, and if there's any indication of what these next coming races will be, it may be really interesting. We may experience some close to DNFs. We'll see. Now into Formula 2. Alright, let me go back and make sure all the names are correct after last one. Okay, good. F2 is already set up. Alright. It's time for some F2 magic. Yeah, I definitely project Ferrari to dominate as they have 2 primary, I guess, reaction users and pretty fast car. The big spot where they actually might falter here is grip being really important on this track potentially. So we'll see how that plays out as we have what looks like Scott Pilgrim and Lady Driver leading this map, or I guess this qualifying lap, as actually Nash Topalo slingshots. And Scott Pilgrim, Nash Topalo, Kyle Busch Light, Mateus Cavallo, Popcat, Lady Driver. Wow. Alpina really kind of ran away with this one in the qualifier. Oh, shoot. The duo from Alpiner in the front, followed by Kyle Busch Light and Cavallo of Mole KTM in that fourth position. Popcat takes an inner line, as well as Lady Driver touching his butt and taking a very clean interior line. You can definitely tell that these karts are more built for this type of track, taking far cleaner interior lines. And making pretty simple work of these turns, which is what you would have expected. Yeah, very clean lines going into this. Yeah, that duo of Alpiner holding strong in that 1-2 position. Lady Driver following close behind, and Chester Curd in that fourth position. Cavallo dropping one spot to Chester Curd, but still holding very well, which is great for Mole KTM. Kyle Busch Light in just getting passed by Annie Skywalker, which I believe was a Superkart Phenom last year. And then Popcat falling to that 8th place with Morgan Charo in that 9th. And then Dale Gordon Jr. actually passing Charo. Lady Driver making the moves, same as Nash Apollo, passing Scott Pilgrim, but Nash Apollo just throws her into the wall and moves on about his day. I'm sure Lady Driver will come back and enact vengeance. Never mind, gets cut off by Nash Apollo. And there's the vengeance as Lady Driver takes that sole first position. So you see a first series of pits as Kyle Busch Light chooses to carry on into that first position with those medium tires, followed by Cavallo on those hards. All the drivers that were on soft to start the race have opted for either hard or medium tires, understanding that this is a longer race and they won't be able to get by with a 5 pit stop race. Popcat doing a great job on those hards as well, taking that 3rd position. Miguel Duhamel taking his first pit of the day, so he'll likely go from actually opting for the soft tires, going from hards to softs, and maintaining his position in the top 10. Got a close race for first with Carvalho and Kyle Busch Light. Carvalho having a little bit more out on those hard tires, really pushing for those positions. I could absolutely see him making a pit right now, either of them, but they feel they are in too much of a lead to or separate from the group to give that up for getting a new set of tires. I guess if they can push to 8 laps on these, it can really set them up for a 3 pit stop race. As they make their first pits, and Scott Pilgrim ends up passing them, and Chester Curd assumes that position as well. So after everyone's first set of pits except for his lines, we have the shakeout of the rankings being Scott Pilgrim in first, Chester Curd in second, Nash DePaula and Lady Driver fighting for that 3rd position as Lady Driver just passes Nash DePaula. 5th, we have Carvalho and Annie Skywalker, which is really great for Mole KTM. And we have Popcat following behind in that 7th position. Yeah, so as all these drivers have kind of spaced out a little bit, there's been a pass of Annie Skywalker by Kyle Busch Light, keeping it tight on these kind of newer hards, probably just heating up hard tires, as he makes that move into the top 6. And then passing Popcat for that Pop 5, which is a great time to do so as a majority of the field is pitting. Kyle Busch Light and Carvalho in that 1st and 2nd position. Carvalho with a 4, just shy of a 4-second lead. A lot of these in the lead right now are these hard tire users that have continued to either pick a hard or medium tire just so they're just yet to have their 2nd pit. Carvalho, like I mentioned, just taking his 2nd pit, going from hards to softs. And puts him in a great position, coming out of the pit in 4th, which is really great after your 2nd pit. And he goes another set of softs. Popcat in that 2nd position, likely to need a tire change soon, followed by Carvalho. Scott Pilgrim in that 4th position. Chester Curd holding off Lady Driver, followed by Annie Skywalker and Nash DePaula in that 8th position. Miguel Duhamel is a little bit further behind, about 5 seconds behind, and then behind Duhamel is Dale Gordon Jr., who is 5 seconds behind him. We have quite a contentious battle in that 1 through 4 position with Kyle Busch Light, Carvalho, Scott Pilgrim, and Popcat all staying close together. Busch Light and Popcat enter the pits as Carvalho and Scott Pilgrim carry on in that 1-2 position. And Scott Pilgrim passes Carvalho with the turbo. Which doesn't bode too well, considering you would expect the soft tires of Carvalho to outdo Scott Pilgrim, but Alpiner, I believe they have one of the higher grips of the cars here. Kyle Busch Light swerving to try and passes Nash DiPaolo and gets a big lead, utilizing that turbo. And Carvalho gets passed by Scott Pilgrim. Lady driver goes into the pits as they started to maybe experience their final. Oh, they switched to soft tires, so they could. I fully expect them to have another 2 pits in the business as Carvalho starts spinning out. Pilgrim comfortably in this first position on those hard tires, followed by Chester Curd and Kyle Busch Light. Nash DiPaolo really working those hards, trying to get the most out of them. He'll get this lap under control and then will likely make his last pit stop of the race. I assume he'll throw some softs on or mediums. I'd probably go mediums in this case, weirdly. As DiPaolo goes in. Losing a position to Popcat and Lady Driver, and Carvalho's doing a great job catching up to that second position. You can really see how much time and space Scott Pilgrim has created going on those extra hards. He's given himself a 3-second gap to Carvalho. Yeah, smart of him to make that pit. Like we mentioned in the race previously, there have been quite a few racers who have had that lead position and then ended up deciding not to pit stop. Pilgrim actually opting for those hard tires. I was kind of surprised by that. You'd figure with 6 laps to go, you'd be able to stretch a pair of mediums very easily. Carvalho doing great in that first position. Good for him. So we see a lot of new faces in this top 5, which is really great. Chester Curd doing a great job managing himself, staying in that second position, passing Scott Pilgrim and holding that spot. Popcat taking a last-second pit, doing his final one of the race in that 7th position. Let's see if he can pass up and get into that top 5. I'm not sure it'll be possible unless Nash DiPaolo ends up giving up a spot just from the tires or Kyle Busch Light. Carvalho making their final pit of the race as well, giving up that first position to Scott Pilgrim, and then Chester Curd with a fresh set of softs going into the final 3 laps. Lady driver with some already hot soft tires past Chester Curd. and looks to create some space with that turbo. And Carvalho's looking to catch the 3.5 second ahead Scott Pilgrim. This battle for third is pretty intense between Chester Curd and Lady Driver. Either one could pull it out. And Nash DePaulo actually on these fresh set of softs passes Popcat, who's working some mediums. As we enter the final lap, Scott Pilgrim has a 2-second lead, a 2.5 lead over Mateus Carvalho. Chester Curd's opened up a bit of a gap on Lady Driver, but is 3.5 seconds behind Carvalho. But Chester Curd is looking to cut that down, driving like a bat out of hell. Scott Pilgrim kind of nursing his lead, taking a solid line, and Carvalho strikes and just passes him. And Carvalho will slingshot ahead and become your winner for race day 5. Scott Pilgrim in second, Chester Curd in third, Lady Driver in fourth, and Kyle Busch Light in fifth, Topalo in sixth, Popcat in that 7th position. Miguel Duhamel passing Dale Gordon Jr. for that 8th position, and then Annie Skywalker in that 10th. Really interesting race. Some great finishes. A lot cleaner driving than Formula 3, but that is expected with the driver experience. Carvalho getting both the fastest lap and the race win. Huge point pickup for him. Scott Pilgrim in that second, Chester Curd in third, rounding out your top 3. Alright, now it is time for our feature race, Formula 1. And this is going to be a long one, so I'm going to take a little bit of a break during the qualifier and you can watch the cars. Congratulations to Harrison Andrews on taking that qualifying lap. All right. So we have Harrison Andrews of Alpiner, Pierre Dadley of Hendricks, Von Salinier of Hot Wheels Racing, and Alex Albono of Hendricks as well in those red, white, and blue carts. And then Castile Angelic in that 6th position of Ferrari. As Von Salinier takes a quick pass of the duo from Alpiner, and Castile Angelic also makes a pass on a majority of the cars, giving some great separation. Harrison Andrews maintaining his lead with Randall Devil hot on his heel. The duo boxing out everyone, providing no passing lane. As I say that, Castile Angelic gets held up by Randall Devil, and Von Salinier and Castile Angelic end up just zooming past the duo from Alpiner. Pastor Maldonado also showing his face into this top 3 early. Alex Albono and Pierre Dadley kind of falling back a little bit, surprisingly. And Roger Distri also being up there. Furious Chicken in that 6th position. As we have quite the battle in this top 6, as all the drivers are still pretty close together in this top 7. Alex Burkhart making a bit of a pass on the Hendricks duo up at the top of the screen, as Von Salinier gets hung up on that hairpin turn. Furious Chicken merges out of the group in that top 4. As we see a bit of damage pit stops right now for Castile Angelic and Von Salinier. Like I mentioned earlier, a big portion of this is likely going to be just minimizing your damage and taking as few pits as possible and just driving clean. Randall Devil's done a great job of that, finding himself towards the front of the pack. Same with the Pastor and Roger Distri as well. You see a first set of soft tires pit in for those reasons. And Randall Devil is just cruising. As you start to see some of those harder grade tires that have been able to make it through the cluster of drivers unscathed, they start to open up a bit of a lead of separation between the two of them with Harrison Andrews. Most of them had to pit as a result of taking a bunch of damage, with exception being Pierre Dadley. as he just reached that threshold of taking a bunch of damage. But Utah's kind of a surprise. I'm pretty sure he's the highest attribute racer. So my guess is just he took a tremendous amount of damage at the beginning of the race and had to make one of the earlier pits that we talked about and experienced earlier. As Bodhi Utah is absolutely just, like I said, he's, I think, the outright best reaction driver there is. As we start to see a lot of the drivers spaced out, for the most part, we'll try and keep track of the passing points. So we start to see Von Selenier and Burkhart battling back and forth, and Albono actually carries some more speed. I could see them setting up to make a pass, as Late for Bingo is just on their heels in that 9th position. Harrison Andrews making that pass as Maldonado goes into the pits, so kind of an artificial lead. As Furious Chicken and Destruct battling it out for that 3rd spot. Furious Chicken holding them off for the time being, but I'm not sure there's much holding back Destruct driving like that maniac right there on those fresh mediums. A little bit of a crash up at the top of the screen as Maldonado makes his move back into that 3rd through 4th scrum. And Harrison Andrews comes out of the pits in that 6th spot. Castillo Angelic doing a great job staying with the group. And should have the speed to pass everyone, being one of the faster kart types out there. Destry has done a great job of narrowing that what was seemed an insertable lead from Devil. End up occupying that sole position in first with a 4.5 second lead. But I fully expect Devil to catch up quickly and lessen that gap. Harrison Andrews makes a great pass on the older tires of Von Salonier. Quite a battle back and forth. Plenty of love taps from Devil to Streak. Streak is should pit shortly, especially incurring that much tire wear. But he chooses to go on. All right, that was this is a decision what people make. Devil is clear, like, I want to say 6 seconds ahead of the field. Yeah, Harrison Andrews and Randall Devil are in that 1st and 2nd position. And Devil is 7 seconds ahead, followed by Furious Chicken, Destreak in 4th, Von Salonier in 5th, Maldonado and Castillo Angelic in that 7th and 6th position, and Alex Burkhart doing a great job in that 8th, and Dadley in that 9th, and Late for Bingo in that 10th. Furious Chicken ends up getting that 2nd spot just by virtue of having the hard tires and being on his 2nd set. Devil also pushing pretty hard to make it so that there's only 3 total pit stops for him, which makes complete sense. Like I said earlier, kind of can't. It's impressive that Bodhi Utah has worked back into this race, even though he should. Because at one point he was in that 19th spot just from an early essential crash. Streak's also going to slingshot as well as Von Salonier past Furious Chicken. Devil on a fresh set of hard tires. Should take him through the rest of the race. Bearing nothing wild happens. Same with Streak and Von Salonier. Von Salonier may need to make a final change, depending upon what the boss says on when to come in for tires. But yeah, it appears as though everyone's looking for a 3-pit race for the most part. The most aggressive driver, Harrison Andrews, opting for these softs to try and make up some positions. Hopefully, it doesn't cost him by having loss of control in those final 2 laps. Devil with that clear lead. As I say that, Streak cuts down a bit of time. Maldonado makes that pass on Von Salonier. Von Salonier ends up getting passed by Harrison Andrews and Furious Chicken. Furious Chicken and Andrews kind of going to be in each other's pocket for the rest of the race, I fully foresee. The Streak ends up making up a ton of ground on Devil, but Devil is should be in front of him shortly. Oh gosh. Definitely wasn't dropping frames there. Andrews, like I mentioned before, with that aggressive play, makes his 4th pit of the day, as well as Von Salonier. Furious Chicken in that 4th spot, close behind Maldonado. Late for Bingo and Pierre Dadley making a pit, as well as Mamma Mia ends up making their way into the top 10. This has been really a great race for them, considering. Hopefully they can hold off and get some points for Mole KTM. Von Salonier just really loving that move on the outside. It's the 2nd time we've seen Von Salonier or a member of Hot Wheels make that in this race. And Mamma Mia in a battle for 9th 10th and 11th. It's really back and forth as they are about to see our race leader as well, Randall Devil. Oh, Mamma Mia started to fall back. Dang. Harrison Andrews and Maldonado in quite the battle for fourth. They do have the opportunity to catch up to Furious Chicken, I think, if they really put the pedal to the metal, opping on those fresher tires. Furious Chicken is going to take some driving masterclass to not fall back to that 5th position, as Andrews takes that 4th position pretty easily and Maldonado takes that 4th. Fierce Chicken does have a tremendous amount of boost in the tank. We'll see how he uses them. I don't understand why they don't use them sparingly on those straightaways. Yeah, and Randall Devil is our finisher, race winner, followed by Distreak. Andrews in 3rd, Pastor in 4th, Furious Chicken in 5th, Castile Angelic in that 8th position as of now, and Alex Burkhart in 7th. Yeah, so our fastest lap of the race, or sorry, our fastest lap of the race goes to Harrison Andrews. Congratulations on that. I believe that's pole and fastest lap. Randall Devil in that 1st position, Roger Distreak in 2nd, Andrews in 3rd, Pastor Maldonado in 4th, Furious Chicken in 5th. Marcelo Von Selenier in 6th, Alex Burkhart in 7th, Castile Angelic in 8th, Late for Bingo in 9th, and Alex L. Bono in that 10th spot. Yeah, thank you for coming out for race day 5. Race day 6, I assume, is going to be on Friday or Saturday. That'll be Infidel taking that, and should be fun. I believe it's our first Focus race off the top of my head. Don't quote me on that. We're in France for F1, 2, and 3, and India for supercarts, and that's Focus. That's first one of the season. Thank you for hanging out, and I will catch you guys next week.